Hello, I'm Claire, the Oily Witch. Welcome to my webinar on anxiety. First of all, I'd just like to say congratulations for getting this far. I know firsthand how debilitating having anxiety can be. And I know that sorting it out is a long, complex journey. And you've probably tried many, many things before. And the reason you've chosen to do this with me here now is because you're ready to say goodbye to your anxiety and to get it under control. So I'm going to take you through this presentation. If you've got any questions, my details are at the end, so please get in touch. Organize your free 15-minute consultation. Don't get worried about it. It's absolutely fine. I've got you. It'll be a pleasure to speak to you, whether we take it forward or whether we don't. There really is no obligation. So the focus of the following webinar is to look at how we can treat anxiety naturally, because there are many different things you can do that will help you with your anxiety that will have no additional cost to your overall health and well-being. This webinar is for anyone who suffers from anxiety and wants it to stop, who's had it for a long time. You may have always been anxious as a child. You may have developed anxiety in your teenage years. You may have developed anxiety in your 20s, maybe perhaps when you became a parent, when you went through menopause, at some point in your life, maybe after something traumatic had happened to you, whatever. If you've had anxiety, this is the right place for you. You've had no or limited success with other treatments. You're looking for something that's going to revolutionize your anxiety, that is permanent and long-term. You're interested in a more natural approach, and you're open to trying something completely different, because I can promise you the way I work is completely unique. What will I be covering? I'm going to give us a definition of anxiety, just to make sure we're on the same page, what it feels like to have anxiety, the disadvantages of living with anxiety, possible triggers you may like to consider for your anxiety, the disadvantages to using pharmaceutical medication, and my unique treatment method, and why you've probably never considered an approach like mine before, or even heard of an approach like mine before. My promise to you is that by the end of this webinar, you will know exactly how I can help you cure your anxiety and why it takes the process I put you through to actually find a permanent solution. So what is anxiety? Well, it can be described as a sense of unease, of worry, fear, or dread of what's about to happen. And the fear is the emotion we feel in the presence of threat. Anxiety is what the sense of anticipated danger is, the trouble or threat. And your brain can't tell the difference. So it's not what is actually happening, it's what may happen. It's all of those horrible things that plague you, dominate your thoughts of where things can go wrong, etc. It's a very controlling emotion, isn't it? It's very negative. It feels incredibly uncomfortable, and it's very debilitating, isn't it? Do you identify with any of these statements? I feel controlled and depressed by my anxiety. I feel my anxiety is stopping me living my best life. I've tried everything and nothing is making it disappear. I'm worried I'm relying on pharmaceutical medications. I'm concerned that I've been taking pharmaceutical medication for far too long. I'm terrified there's no cure and it's just going to get worse. I will do anything to make it go away so I can get on with living. And it has to mean anything. Open to change, because change you must in order to deal with your anxiety. The big question, are you secretly terrified that nothing can stop your anxiety and it can only get worse? I think that fear was very much mine. It became so uncomfortable and overpowering that I just didn't want to live anymore, because I thought, I can't deal with this. And if it's going to get worse, and I'm not going to want to do the things I enjoy, if I'm going to be having to question everything that I want to do and go through it and overanalyze it, it just becomes too painful. And then you shut down. And then what kind of life is that? It's no life worth living, is it? These are possible triggers that I will be examining with you, and you might like to start giving some consideration to. Diet. Never underestimate the impact of what you eat on your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Next up, lifestyle. What are you doing? How are you living? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you resting in the way that makes sense for you? And everybody is completely unique. And that's really important to say, because one size does not fit all. Just like one medication does not work for all. Works for some, but not everybody. And the chances are, the reason you're watching this, they haven't worked for you. You're predisposed towards it because it's in your family line. So you would have witnessed a parent having it, or a grandparent, or someone close to you, and you've picked up those filters. You've picked up that kind of propensity towards it. It doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. It just means that you are more likely to be like that, or you have a condition, which means that you're more likely to be predisposed to it. And so you have to understand that and what your anxiety is trying to tell you. Something awful's happened to you, you've had trauma, you've got anxiety as PTSD, that also needs treating. You can't live like that. Medication, sometimes taking a medication for one problem creates a problem in another, and anxiety is quite often on the side effect list of a lot of medications, which is kind of ironic. Especially some of the medications that are used to treat depression can create anxiety. Crazy. And then the hormones and age. So as I said earlier, it may be that this started for you when you were during your teenage years, so huge hormonal fluctuations, or when you were pregnant, or if you go through menopause, and men do have a menopausal experience, just in case you're thinking, well, then none of that applies to me. It does. Why you don't want pharmaceuticals, the side effects. If you take pharmaceuticals, they're brilliant. They are really good for some things. However, there is always a price your body will pay for using them. You don't get away with anything scot-free. And so you have to work out whether what you're using them for is worth the price that you're physically paying. And certainly being on them for more than 2 years max, especially with SSRIs and antidepressants, those kind of drugs, is really not recommended. It says that in all of the literature. So if you've been using these a long time, you really need to be thinking about dealing with them, because things like that are brilliant for getting you, putting a kind of floor in the well to stop you falling any further, offering you some level of respite after a traumatic experience, etc. But once that you feel calmer, you need to come off and deal with what's the underlying point, like the underlying trigger, what's going on, and deal with it and resolve it and cure it, and then you will be free. Also, using pharmaceuticals does restrict the use of other natural remedies. So natural remedies that I would be recommending will be herbs, essential oils, etc. Some of them you can't use with pharmaceutical remedies because they'll make them even stronger, or they'll make them not work, etc. So that's why coming to someone like me is also important, because I understand the chemistry of what's going on, so I can make sure I keep you safe. Addiction. So I don't mean like one would typically imagine an episode of Train Spotting addiction, not that kind of thing. I'm talking about when you become addicted to it because the idea that your anxiety will get out of control if you don't take this particular drug is so unbearable that you just take it every day, multiple times a day, to avoid having the outcome, the anxiety. And that is an addiction, because you are addicted to avoiding feeling those anxious feelings. And if you are using drugs to help you sleep, they're incredibly addictive. And your body, if you replace what your body does naturally with something artificial, your body just goes, do you know what? I don't need to do that anymore. And that's when the addiction forms, because it goes, actually, I'm sorry, you didn't continue to allow me to put you to sleep naturally. So now I don't know how. And you have to learn how to sleep again. It's crazy, but it's like anything artificial, your body will just go, okay, you've turned that off. I don't know how to do it. It's like muscle memory. I hope that makes sense. And then pharmaceuticals just focus on symptom management. So they'll take away the pain, they'll take away the anxiety, but they won't take away what's causing the problem and cure it, because they literally can't. That is not the way they are made. And we can go into that another time, and certainly if you're interested, we can discuss it more in your 15-minute consultation. So once you've overcome your anxiety, you will feel safe. You will grab every opportunity coming your way. There'll be no more, ooh, that getting in the way of you saying yes. You will love and respect yourself, because when you have something like anxiety, you can get really frustrated with yourself, can't you? And think, why am I like this? This is so terrible. It's not happening to everybody else. It's stopping me doing this, etc., etc. And just you decimate with those critical voices your self-esteem, which is really bad for your spiritual energy, your physical energy, your mental energy. It's like, really poisonous. And then it becomes this vicious cycle. And you land up well, as I said before, just thinking, I just don't want to be here anymore. Well, this is really difficult. This is not what I signed up for. You will look forward to waking up every day because of the possibilities coming your way. You'll get a zest for life again, because you won't have this dark cloud hanging over you, always threatening to rain on your parade. You will feel empowered and sovereign. I will show you. I will give you and you in all your majesty and beauty and sovereignty, and you will understand yourself in ways you never expected to. And through that understanding, you will come to love and respect yourself and feel powerful in who you are. So imagine being in control of your own life, free to go where you want to go and be who you want to be. Get on that plane, go to that music concert, climb that mountain, say yes to that person you like, even have the confidence to approach that person you like. Say no to that friend that takes the mick. Say no to that parent that treats you like a child, or no to the child that doesn't respect you trying to be the parent. Making decisions for yourself, not being put upon and having your energy drained. Friends and loved ones are going to notice you're different, and they're going to want to know what's changed. Other people will envy your assurance and confidence. They will be the ones looking at you going, oh, wow, aren't they wonderful? Look how they just own themselves. And that's so attractive, that inner confidence, isn't it? It doesn't matter what you actually look like on the outside. If you are confident and you have self-love, you glow and everybody else notices. And your journey will be so much lighter, that you will be in a better place, because you'll be resonating with a positive frequency to attract the life you want to live, as opposed to negativity, which is much, unfortunately, like anything in life, much stronger than positivity. The negative thoughts will bring on negative outcomes. Oh, I'm really worried about that. That's going to happen. I'm going to get a parking ticket. I'm going to get a parking ticket. Guess what? You get a parking ticket. That's the kind of thing that happens. Whereas if you have faith in life and go, you know what? I am going to find enough money. It's going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. Then it always is, because you trust in life. And holding that space to trust in life is incredibly difficult, isn't it? So by removing the obstacles, and anxiety is an enormous obstacle to that, then you're going to be able to dial into that frequency a lot more easily and quicker, and live it, resonate it. So who am I? So a little bit of background on me. You can read more about me on my website, which is oilywitch.co.uk. But I'm a green witch. This means that I like to use herbs. I believe all the answers to health and well-being reside in the plants and in the trees and in the natural world. So greenery, green witch. This is something I was born with and something that exists inside a lot of you. It's kind of it's my spirituality, really. That's what it is. And so some people may call themselves a Christian. I call myself a witch because I believe in the natural world. I believe in the power of nature. I believe that we have a point to being here. I believe in the heavens above, but not in heaven as a place you might think. It's all kind of really important. And I believe also in that you need to balance your soul with your mind and your body, and you can't separate those three things. It's all one. It's all you. And I didn't come to that until I was in my early 20s, because I was always very spiritual, but I couldn't find a religion that really kind of spoke to me until I met a male witch. And then I was like, hand to a glove. And now I teach people how to awaken that side of themselves if you're interested. And I do think it's important to have a level of spirituality and your own interpretation of that, because that's the other point about being a witch. There's no dogma. So you can appreciate and become the witch you want to be with no rules. There's some guidance, and the guidance is the same guidance in all the different religions, really, around what various numbers mean and symbols mean, etc., and appreciating the elements. But there's kind of, it's about your direct relationship to the higher divine one. You don't need anybody else to interpret that for you. Anyway, enough of that. I'm a qualified aromatherapist. I'm qualified in medical and herbal astrology. I'm a birth astrologer. So I look at your birth chart and I can tell exactly who you are and what your vulnerabilities are in terms of physical and mental well-being, and then kind of treat all of that and understand which herbs tie into which planets are imbalanced, etc. So, and which oils, and kind of, it's very holistic. I'm also into nutrition and trained in that, and I particularly go down the mega vitamin route, vitamin therapy. So believing that the quality of the food that most of us are eating these days isn't good enough for what we need it to do in our bodies. Obviously, if we were all growing our own food and the soil quality was fantastic, then brilliant, go for it. But a lot of the food that people buy in the supermarket just simply does not have the quality, because the soil has the life thrashed out of it by the farming practices. And then there's all the chemicals used to stop this beach or this insect attacking this, threatening this crop, etc. In the way they harvest it, it's all wrong. And I could talk for hours on that, and we don't have hours right now. But again, if nutrition is something, and it generally is a massive part of anxiety, we can go into all of that, and I can explain that to you so that makes sense. And I've written a lot about it. I've been through menopause. I've gone through medical menopause, and that's when my anxiety really bloomed into being. I mean, I've had it a few times in my life, but menopause really added a whole new level. I grew up all over the world, so that's meant that I have a total appreciation for different cultures and different ways of doing things, and a very open mind. I'm not pigeonholed into one culture. I'm a mother. I've got 2 children. I'm got hypermobility Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which means I've got a connective tissue disorder, and that's led to all kinds of health problems for me, and operations, and an awful lot of experience of the British NHS and pharmaceuticals, which nothing is wasted, goes into me wanting to help others and share with them the journeys I've been on and everything that I've taught myself or taken the time to learn, pulling it all together so that I come up with this rather unique and unusual service that I offer you that definitely makes you better. So these are the 6 steps to an anxiety-free life that I take people through. So there's a health and well-being survey, and that covers the 12 body systems. So we want to know exactly what's happened to you, what's happened to your parents, your grandparents, throughout your entire life, even down to just childhood ailments, etc. Want to know the state of your mind at the moment, want to know the state of your just everything about you from a health perspective. That takes quite a long time of you going away and really thinking about that, and then me really analysing that, and then us working on that together. Then there's the birth and medical chart analysis. That takes 2 or 3 hours to look through all your chart and find out what your planet placements are and issues that you're experiencing. Then we have a one-to-one consultation, which takes place either face-to-face or over Zoom, whatever is better for you. I know for some of my clients, they prefer to do it over Zoom because it is too scary to come in person. It doesn't compromise it, so don't worry, it's absolutely fine. And some people don't even want their camera on, and I don't mind that. It's your space with me. You can choose how to be entirely, whatever makes you comfortable. Then we do an essential oil analysis. That's obviously better if you're with me, but it's not imperative that you're with me, because once I've done your chart and read everything, I can work out which oils are going to help you with anxiety. Why would you even care about that? Essential oils are amazing for anxiety. They are an instant calmer, and finding the right ones are essential, and learning how to use them safely, but literally can use them and be non-anxious in a matter of minutes. It's quite incredible. Then I go away and I write you up a personal prescription, which is, can be between 6 and 8 pages worth of recommendations. All your chart is mapped out for you, all the information we've covered, so that you have this report on you to go away with and study and keep referring to for the rest of your life, because it will remain relevant. And so you'll be able to tell when you're feeling out of balance, or, you'll look at this and go, oh, okay, my anxiety started to come back. Oh, I'm dehydrated. That's a moon issue, things like that. You will know all of that. And we can go through that together to make sure you fully understand it, because it's incredibly complex document. Well, not complex, but just a lot of information. And then implementation. And that bit's down to you and putting into practice all the things that I've recommended for you. And that part is just as important as all the other parts. And this is why you have to be open to this, because there are changes you're going to have to make if you want an anxiety-free life, and you have to be committed to that. I am the gateway. I can show you how, I can show you what's going to work for you, and I can show you, but you have to walk through that gateway and stay on that new path. And I'm there to support you. You can come and see me afterwards, and I will check up on you as well to check. So why have you never heard of a service like this before? Well, in our country, the UK, aromatherapy was outlawed in the 12th century and remains unregulated. It's literally, people don't often think of going to an aromatherapist when they're not feeling very well, or they've got mental issues, and they've even got physical issues. That's not the first thing you jump to. And that's because there's been such a good job done of putting this down, of saying that it doesn't work, or it's just a pleasing aroma. When people have been put to death for using aromatherapy in our country since the 12th century. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. And it remains unregulated. So the essential oils you buy in a shop off the shelf, especially the supermarket, have completely standardized, and it's literally all the magic's been taken out of them, and they only require 8% of the ingredient to be marked as pure. So what you buy is this pure essential oil, thinking, oh yeah, great, and then you may try and use it and think, oh, I didn't really get much of a reaction, or of course you won't. You're not using proper essential oils, you're just using a shadow, a safe shadow. They are super powerful. Astrology. This is something that has phased in and out of fashion in the last 2000 years. Before that, it was just part of life. Everyone always looked towards the moon and the stars and the solar system to judge what was going on, and understood the connection between the different force fields of those planets on Earth. But now, the most we can really know about is the moon phases, isn't it? Or people go, oh yeah, it's full moon, I was feeling a bit nutty. Or, oh, there's no moon, why can't I stop eating? Don't know that kind of stuff. And again, it was outlawed. It was regarded as demonic. People got put to death if they were using astrology, and it's kind of come in and it's come out. And there's an awful lot of science behind both of these things. Witchcraft was banned in the 12th century. Again, people got put to death. Why was that? It was all down to money. It was the fact that witches could make you well with common herbs, or people could understand themselves how to use common herbs to make themselves feel better, like eyebright for conjunctivitis and things like that. You can go and pick it, you know what to do with it. No longer. You will not know what to do with these things, or very few of you will. And it's crazy, because you can grow a lot of these things in your garden that have an incredible impact on your health, and they're growing around you in the season that they're in, because your body needs to thicken at this time of year. Your body needs to thin, as in your blood, sorry, needs to thin at this time of year. Otherwise, you're going to feel really unbalanced. And it's all about, you know, recognizing that we are part plant. We are animal, mineral, and plant. Even up to the end of the 16th century, the physicians were required to calculate the position of a moon before surgery or bleeding. That's when it stopped, though, at the end of the 16th century. But up until that point, they knew the chart, etc. And now, do they know that? I mean, can you imagine saying to your GP, and I've tried this, oh, yeah, I'm Taurus, and my moon is in Taurus, and that's why I can't stop eating food. Or I've been really feeling stagnated recently around the throat area. I've had loads of sore throats. Can you imagine your GP turn around and go, well, yes, that's because you're Taurian and this is your weak entry point. So if you've had loads of issues here, then we need to balance that. Can you imagine? It's just not going to happen. The pharmaceutical industry was started by the oil barons and also a steel magnate, Carnegie, in 1924. And in fact, before then, at the beginning of the 1900s, and it was because there was a byproduct from the oil manufacturing process that they needed to do something with, because they had an awful lot of this byproduct. So they were like, oh, what can we do? And so the oil baron, I think it was Rockefeller, got together with Carnegie from the steel industry and came up with this whole concept of the pharmaceutical industry and said, you know, let's get the scientists to isolate some active constituents in plants and mix them with these chemicals, and then we'll tell everybody that they need to take them, and we'll make some money out of this. So they commoditized health, really. And they started controlling the universities in 1924. So they started taking over what the doctors were being taught. And at the beginning of the 1900s, then you had like 50% of the doctors were homeopathic and using all of these essential oils and everything else to make people better, and all like hypnotherapy and all kinds of things. By the time they'd finished in the 30s and onwards, then because obviously they paid people to go around the country speaking to GPs, selling them pharmaceuticals, everyone had moved away from that, away from the natural remedies. Not everybody, because you still get your kind of grandma remedies, don't you, for things like eat onions if you've got a cold, or, you know, lemon juice or things like that. People still know about those things, but you don't give them as much credibility often as you do the pharmaceuticals, which are based on a few active constituents and actually have got a lot more rubbish in them to try and make them work, and also to get rid of these byproducts. It's quite crazy, really, and quite dangerous. And because it made so much money, it's become like a beast, where it just, I mean, it's worth something like $33 billion a year. Crazy. And they spend all their time trying to wipe out anyone that threatens them or their existence or undermines them. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, that's another conversation we can have if you're interested. The sun sign astrology that you find in the press is really where you probably have come across a zodiacs. And you'll think, wow, you know, how can I, you know, there's only 12 signs, you know, and there's however many billions of people living on this planet. How can, you know, it just be divided into 12 categories? Well, it can't. That's the bottom line. Your sun sign is really important. It's your vitality, it's what you kind of emanate to the world, etc. But it's just a part of you. And there's all of those other parts as well. So you can't take it in isolation. It's too general. Traditional folk remedies generally work and have been passed down via word of mouth because they work. They were quite often found in the back of Victorian kitchen books as well. And I can go into all the reasons why doctors got it so wrong, and that's all down to the information and how it was shared, etc., through the centuries in the Christianity, etc., and the monks, and how they copied plant pictures. And it's fascinating. And let me know if you want to go there, but I won't go there right now. Nutrition is a fairly new one, isn't it? People have just started to take consideration over what they eat, probably from the 80s onwards, when people, you know, salt got demonized and things like that, and, you know, sugar's currently being demonized, and, you know, for good reason. But Some people can eat sugar. If it's in your bloodline, you can eat it. Like if you have Caribbean descent where sugarcane grows, unrefined sugar will be fine for you. It's about knowing, and this is something I go into, where you're actually from, and then taking some consideration over eating foods that your body and working with herbs that your body is going to recognize and know what to do with. So you'll never really cure your anxiety unless you find an expert to take you through the process. And it is a lengthy process, and it's a very, very in-depth process. And there's no getting around that. And that is because you are complex, you are special, you are unique. And also your experience, layer upon layer, of things have happened that have culminated to bring you to this position today in front of me now to hear this. So what I can promise you, you will be listened to, you will be understood, appreciated, and really seen. I am going to give you a deep understanding of who you actually are. I'm going to really, really see you and show you you. I'm going to show you what your individual needs are for balance and wellness, because we are unique. I'm going to spend all that time with you, making sure you understand that. We'll talk about which planetary influences will be the strongest for you, so you can have some knowledge about what's going on in the sky and how it has a bearing on your life and your anxiety, why it's going to feel better at certain times of the month than others, or certain times of the year. I'm going to give you the keys to living a successful lifestyle and eating a diet, so you can expect weight loss if that's a problem. You can expect to feel good within your body. You will understand your personal vulnerabilities and triggers like you never have before. This is like everything. It's therapy. It's everything rolled into one. And then you'll be given a set of tools, natural tools to overcome and manage your anxiety. So it's a real belt and braces experience. So let's recap where you might be right now. I feel controlled and oppressed by my anxiety. I feel my anxiety is stopping me living my best life. I've tried everything and nothing is making it disappear. I'm worried I'm relying on pharmaceutical medications. I'm concerned that I've been taking pharmaceutical medication for too long. I'm terrified there's no cure and it's just going to get worse. I will do anything to make it go away so I can get on with living. So one of those may apply, or all of those may apply. You're in the right place. You're in safe hands. My 6 steps to get you with your anxiety cured, long-term results are thus. I'm going to look at all your body systems, work out what's going on a physical level to trigger and cause your anxiety. Where are those imbalances? What are those bad habits? What is going on? I'm going to look at your birth and your medical chart. I'm going to be able to see the keys of what you were born with and how they've come out and what we can do about them and your potential. And you're going to understand that too. We're going to have this beautiful one-to-one exchange of all that information and shine a light on you. Total, true introspection, but safely guided with me holding your hands and making you feel and take the courage and have the courage to do this. Essential oil analysis, so a scented journey to peace and tranquility. A personal prescription, information just for you, a report to keep for a lifetime, and then implementation, you putting that into practice and me supporting you to do so. Total, complete, holistic healthcare. So get in touch, book your free 15-minute consultation. Contact me. We can do it straight away if I'm not with another client, because I understand these things are quite daunting. It's like, whoa. I understand also there might be some anxiety over, well, I'm not sure and I don't want to waste her time and I don't want to put myself out there. Please be assured it will be an absolute gift to be able to engage with you and at least meet you and help you on your journey. If you take me up and my service, that's brilliant. If you don't, that's also equally brilliant. But at least you'll know, won't you, what your options are, and then you can make an informed decision. My service costs £300. Why? Because of all of those steps that we go through together. It's incredibly in-depth. And I know that you might think, oh, £300, you know, £300 to be cured, to move forward in your life, to have a report that lasts a lifetime. That's nothing. Think about how much you'd spend on clothes or going out for a meal or on a holiday, and how quickly those experiences are over or don't last. And this is something that is forever. It's not expensive at all. And I know that in this culture we live in, our mindset is, why should I have to pay for mental health? We're completely turned away from that. We expect to pay for physical health. So if I said to you, I'm going to give you a tummy tuck and it's going to cost you £8,000, you'd be like, oh, that's brilliant. You know, I can live with the scars. I'm just going to, you know, have a lovely flat stomach. The mind is equally important, and I'm only charging you £300. Your mind, if it's not working for you, can make living hell on earth, can't it? So destructive, so negative, so debilitating. You want to get it better. And I only charge for my time. I'm literally charging you because it's going to take me 6 or 7 hours to work with you and set all this up. It's not an overnight thing. It's not, you know, off the shelf, you know, one size fits all, because you're all unique. So I just need you to know that. And we can arrange payment of installments if it's a problem. But just think about this. Aren't you worth it? Isn't it worth solving this? You can send me an email. That's my email address. My website is oilywitch.co.uk. There's lots of videos on there if you want to feel more about kind of who I am, etc. But I'd really love to hear from you. So get in touch.